Hello and welcome to Batcast 66. It's the podcast where every other week, give or take, we watch an episode of the Batman 66 television show and talk about it. My name's Kendall.
And I'm Scott.
Today we're talking about Hot Off the Griddle. It's the third episode of the second season. Uh
Yeah, I guess before we get started in that stuff, we'll say Happy New Year.
oh yeah, Happy New Year.
First episode of 2024.
Yeah, although it is 2023 when we're recording it.
Well, they don't need to know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everyone for listening to us for another year. I have a bunch of pointless thoughts about a TV show that's almost 60 years old. I was thinking about that with the new year. In 2 years, it'll be the 60th anniversary of the show. We might still have episodes to do, so maybe we might do something fun for that. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wonder where we'll be by then. There's a lot of episodes of season two.
Yeah, there's a long way to go. But you may have noticed we got a little off our normal schedule. We still had two episodes come out in December because we had a Christmas episode prepared. But for a couple between just scheduling with the holidays and stuff, but I also had COVID for a couple of weeks and I was knocked out. I still have a cough, so I'm gonna do my best to like edit it out as we go, but it might still creep in, so that might be why. But I'm probably gonna have that for a while because it did some like lasting damage to my lungs, which so that's fun. I'm sure we'll make good audio content.
Yeah, can't wait to listen to that for weeks to come.
But yeah, will be using the mute button liberally on my phone. But in case there's some edits I can't edit around, that might slip in. But I'll do my best to minimize all that.
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully you just feel better soon.
Yeah, you and me both.
So yeah, Hot Off the Griddle, written by Stanley Ralph Ross and directed by Don Weiss. Don Weiss has definitely been involved before. Do you recognize the Stanley Ralph Ross name?
No, I think that's new. I know I've seen Dan Weiss, or not Dan Don Weiss, pop up a few times. I don't remember any specific episodes he did, but I know I recognize the name.
Yeah. Oh well. Very cool. Just looking at Stanley's Wikipedia page, he's done some acting in a lot of things I've never seen, and then his last role is in Babe Pig in the City.
Well, that's great. Is he the farmer?
No, he's not in Babe 1, which I think I've only seen Babe 1.
It's been a long time since I've watched the Babe movies, but I remember really liking them. And Babe 2, it's good, but it's wildly different, which is kind of cool.
He's done a lot of cool screenwriting gigs. He started with The Man from Uncle, which is like contemporary to Batman. Have you seen?
Yeah, I know. I think they did a crossover with the comics.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
He also has done The Monkees, which is a show I dig.
I used to watch that when I was a kid. I think it was on Nick at Night. I don't remember much about it specifically, but I do remember watching it.
I mean, they're just the monkeys. People say they're monkeying around.
Yeah, I do remember the
Um,
theme song, but
he's also written for All in the Family, which is a show I liked as a kid.
you know what? I was recently trying to like, that was like, oh, it's a classic sitcom. Like, I've seen bits and pieces over the years, but I was like, I was gonna binge it because I think it's on Hulu or something. But like, it's not a show I feel like I can binge, which is
Yeah,
fine. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like I wanted to watch like all of it and I just haven't.
yeah. The last thing I'll bring up of from his writing credits is Wonder Woman, the 70s
Oh, really?
show.
That's cool. I noticed some references to, I don't know how intentional they were, to other another DC character in this episode, which I guess we'll talk about when we come across them.
It was this episode?
It might have been this episode mixed with the next one. I watched them back to back.
Yeah, me too. I think you're talking about the next one, but maybe we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, there was definitely stuff in this one.
Dang, so he's also done voiceover work. He was the voice of Gorilla Grodd in Super Friends.
Oh, that's cool. I don't
And
even remember Grodd in
also,
that show.
yeah, me neither. He also took over as voice actor for Brainiac in the Super Friends series after the death of the previous Brainiac voice actor. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any other fun tidbits other than some of like the goons are in some interesting TV shows as well, but I figure we can talk about them as they come up.
Sure, sounds good to me. All right, well, shall we dig into the episode? Anything else?
No, let's sink our claws into it.
Ooh, yeah, we start out. It's a quiet night in Gotham, and a cat burglar breaks into a department store. But all he does is take a catalog, and after circling the first three letters of the word catalog, he drops it out the window with a parachute down to a mysterious clawed figure.
Yeah, the parachute angle is strange in my opinion.
I thought it was a pretty fun scene, although I was like, what is so special about
Yeah,
this
well,
scene?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize it was Catwoman until he circled the word cat, and I was like, oh, it's a Catwoman episode. That's right. Because my DVD just picked up where I left off, which was in the credits of the last episode. But yeah, so obviously now we've got the return of Catwoman.
Yeah, pretty cool. They like kind of keep her face hidden, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that was neat. So like I think the movie would have come out between the first two seasons. So like we have seen like it's obvious that it's Catwoman.
Yeah, well, and also she was in the first season for an
Yeah, and
episode.
she was in an episode of that too, but like the movie was a pretty high profile thing if you were following the show at the time. Like
Yeah,
I know it was a different actress in the movie, but
maybe it was like shot that way to be like, oh, look, Julie Newmar is back.
I guess. But they don't really like keep that going because I think by the end of the cold open we see her, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
so
after the department store, we see a similar scene
it's like
at the Nautical Society where they steal a model of a catamaran,
did
which
they
is like
say catamaran off the bat? Because I was like, why is this just a boat? Because I know they say catamaran later, and I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know if they say it in this direct scene. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone's
I didn't
really
remember if they
talking.
did or didn't, but it was the next one that like threw me off for a while. I was like, why'd she steal that?
Yeah, it was three mittens from
Yeah,
an apartment building.
but it's eventually revealed in the next part of it that it's like the family's last name's Kitten. And I was like, oh, three little kittens lost their mittens. It's part of a nursery rhyme. I was
Yeah.
like, that's a stretch. I mean, circling cat and catalog was also really stupid. And how would they even notice that that was stolen? Because it was on like a big pile of catalogs. Because like
Well,
it's very clear that this little thing is kind of just be like, she's just kind of announcing like I'm Catwoman and I'm back.
yeah, which Gordon and O'Hara quickly pick up on that it has to be her.
Well, yeah, which to their credit, I'm glad that they did
Yeah.
because this wasn't like as overtly like cat themed as it could have been. Like she could have stolen like cat statues like she did the first time or whatever.
Yeah. But they figure it out pretty dang quick and call Batman.
I was thinking about this during the scene, and it's funny that it happened. Like I had this thought like now, the bat phone is like so much of a better idea than the bat signal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because like the bat signal's cool and it's like a nice dramatic visual. And I know they have that in this show too. And I think they do mention that it's more for just like the villains or like criminals in the city to like know that Batman's out and about. I was just like in so many movies, like when we talked about Batman Returns, like the opening scene after after the credits is like this convoluted like mirror system so that way like Bruce Wayne in his Batcave knows that the bat signal's on. I'm like, I don't know, it's just one of those things I was thinking about. I was like, oh yeah, the bat phone's really cool.
Yeah, but all
Yeah,
right, here's my take on it. The Bat phone, while it is like way more direct, like if Batman was out and about, and I mean, this was all before cell phones and car phones.
well no, there is one in the Batmobile. They've used it in episodes past.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Even so,
yeah,
I
to be fair, like yeah, Batman can be like out in the middle of a caper or something.
yeah, like if they need to like summon him and they can't get a hold of him on the phone.
Yeah, like now he would have like an earpiece in his cowl or something too. But
And
I
then
think I still think it's cool and like outside of this series and like show like things that like directly reference this, like they don't use it. And I
Well,
think that would be cool to have.
so, but no, here's my thing.
Yeah.
Outside of this show, I think that the Batman wouldn't have the bat phone. In this show, Batman's like a deputized law
Yeah.
enforcer. So like he's not worried about like the police. Like he knows the police are definitely on his side. They're not gonna like get into his business. But like in other continuities, he like is a like he like definitely helps the police, but he's not a cop. And like they could just be like, I wonder who Batman is. Let's call him on the phone and like trace his line.
I know, but I know, and I know that that's one of the things people like about Batman. Is he's like more of this vigilante or whatever. But like, it's one of those things. Like, I would like that and to come up. Like, I'm sure that they can do one where it's like the Justice League or whatever. You know, like it doesn't have to be a big flashing red phone like the president has for nuclear missiles. But like, I just think that I just thought I don't know what it was about this scene that made me be like, wow, the Bat phone's really cool and I really like it
Interesting.
because we've seen it like every episode.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the bat signal. I think that's like visually way cooler.
Oh, I'm not going to deny that it's like a really neat, iconic thing, and like it's very dramatic and striking, and like they use it over the credits of every episode of this show for a reason.
That's true.
But like it is very cool. But I've always thought like it's kind of like makes no like sense in a world where like really nothing makes sense. You're not really supposed to mess with it anyway. Like think about it anyway. But
Well,
yeah, I'm not saying I don't like the bat signal. I want to be on the record for that. I do like the bat signal. Anyway, that was like a crazy tangent. I just was my thoughts as I was watching the episode. I was like, damn, the bat phone is neat.
well, anyway, Bruce and Dick are at stately Wayne Manor and they're
Mm.
prepping a telescope for tomorrow's eclipse.
Yeah, I really like this little scene for a myriad of reasons. One, I just like the two of them doing like different kind of like mundane-ish things. Because he's not just Robin's mentor, he's Dick Grayson's mentor too, so he's teaching about astrology and stuff.
Yeah, it's sweet to see them like doing different things that allow Dick to grow into a respectable member of society. But their telescope fiddling is interrupted. Alfred approaches and lets them know the bat phone is ringing. And the two of them spring into action and head to police headquarters once they find out Catwoman's up to no good.
I did notice there was a shot of them like buckling their seatbelts in like the Batmobile like startup sequence this time that I don't remember before. That just struck me as like, oh, this is a very short amount of like B-roll that can just be like scene filler if we need to extend out, because they don't always do like the atomic batteries to power and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just noticed that and I was like, all right, that could be like a new thing they can add to the mix, because it's always the same shot of them like getting into police headquarters.
Yeah, just like stock footage.
Makes sense. They already have it. To be honest, even though we're like kind of like we're not binging it, but like we are like watching it with a much finer tooth comb than people would have been back in the 60s. Like I really don't notice.
Oh, I noticed pretty quickly.
I mean, I notice, but like it doesn't stick out to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I also don't care.
Yeah, it's not important. I just
I watch a ton of programs with stock footage.
yeah. I mean, how much Power Rangers have we watched over our lives?
Yeah.
And I guess not just Power Rangers, just Japanese stuff in general does a lot of that.
So
Yeah, so where we they just arrived at police headquarters.
so yeah, Batman and Robin get filled in on the different crimes that have occurred and they very quickly, they're like, "Oh, okay, like it's obvious why she did all these different crimes, even though not obvious to me at all." But
Well, they said something like, "Oh, Catwoman, she's still alive, and she's back living in Gotham." They say, which, like, remember at the end of the her episode in the first season, there was like they thought she died in that cave. So I was like, "Oh, that's a little bit of cool continuity." But then, like, there's Catwoman in the movie that came out, and like, I always viewed the Lee Merriweather and Julie Newmar Catwoman as like the same character. So
do
like,
not view
I view Eartha Kitt as a separate Catwoman. because she's very different personality wise too. Whereas like the white Catwoman are kind of very similar. Like they strike me as like they were just writing the same character for both of them. So I don't know where these things fall in the timeline, but like as watching, I was like, oh, I appreciated that they remembered that like they thought Catwoman died last time they saw her.
I I mean, I haven't seen any of the Eartha Kitt episodes, so I can't speak to that, but yeah, I've definitely taken them as the same character.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'll be honest, when I was young, I thought they were the same person. So like
yeah,
what
I
do I
mean,
yeah, what do I know? I know they're very clearly they're different people now, but when you're young, like, oh, that's Catwoman.
yeah, I mean, all right. So if we're like gonna like use a fine-tooth comb to like analyze that,
Yeah.
and like maybe if people are just like listening to this and haven't watched any, haven't watched the movie,
Which
like if
those
they're,
people are madmen.
yeah, well, maybe they're just like watching along with us, which
Yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. I'm saying, yeah, you should be watching the show along with us. If you just listen to us talk about it, this is not I that's pretty strange to me. But I appreciate the listen and thank you.
I'm sure someone somewhere does
Please give
that
us
to some show. Maybe not our
please
show, but
please give us 5 stars. It goes a long way.
anyway,
Yeah.
I feel like so this duo of episodes kind of establish like a Batman Catwoman like romance a little bit. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. If that's something I want to get into, maybe when we get to the end of the second part of this episode.
Well,
It's like,
so
well, 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 my point is like, I know that's a big part of like Catwoman in general. And it got me thinking, like, while watching this, is like, what do I prefer Catwoman's character to kind of be like?
cool. Well,
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
analyze that later, but
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I do want to touch on that at some point.
I bring it up in relation
Sorry.
to the movie because Catwoman and Batman have a romance in the movie,
Yes.
which like kind of
Although I'll point out that it's Bruce Wayne and Catwoman, and like he doesn't realize it's Catwoman until the very end. So it is different than like kind of what it is in this, where it's more like the costume personas. Does that make sense?
it does, but I feel like maybe all three because of that and the nature of these two things, I feel like maybe we should just maybe that's a thing we can pay attention to as we go through the series. But I think I'm more I think when I started this, I assumed all three Catwoman women were the same character. And
Okay.
now I'm thinking maybe they're all separate characters.
Yeah, I know that's been the thing that's like debated over the years. I never really like paid that much attention to like the fan discourse or whatever. But like I know from what I remember of the Eartha Kitt Catwoman, she's a very different person. I know she's way more into the cat puns. Not that this one is devoid of them, but
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like how much this show doesn't feel very scripted to me. Like, I wonder how much is just like the characters doing their own thing
I do feel
or
like
the
the act.
actors.
Yeah, I do feel like because I've read some interviews with some of the actors as we've gone, it feels like they gotta have a lot of their personality kind of come to the fore. Like in our Bat book, there's for these episodes, there's like a little interview with Julie Newmar and talking about like how she really liked being able to be a bad guy in this because at the time women just couldn't. There was no the roles like that, so I think she went like a little bit more over the top than was on the page just because she could, which is cool. I like it.
Yeah, like, and I will say this Catwoman is way more campy than the one in the movie.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like they are like that's what I'm saying. Like written, they feel like the same character, but they are portrayed like differently.
Yeah. So anyway, just something I
Yeah.
want to bring up. We can continue along with the episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry. I just wanted to that was just my thoughts as I was watching the episode. Like I did think it was cool that they mentioned, oh yeah, she's alive. Yeah,
um,
actually I think she's one of the at first season, I'm thinking about it. Is she the only villain they did not catch?
at the end of the season.
Yeah, by the end of the first season.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, did False Face get away? I don't remember now. I'd have to go back. It's not that important. It's just a thought that occurred to my head right now.
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea. So Batman, I forget exactly what he says, but he's talking about catching criminals, and he's like, "Oh, like to catch a mouse, you use cheese. So to catch a cat, what do you use?"
Yeah, and
And
Robin was like a canary, and of course he's right.
well, at first he was like a bird,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
He
I
did
was
say
like,
bird.
and Batman's like, "Oh, what kind of bird?" And I'm like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, he elaborates a canary, but I thought they were going to go with a robin.
See, I thought they were going to too, and Robin was going to be some sort of weird bait.
Yeah, but I guess that's not really Batman's style.
No, and that would also be really weird. Like for Catwoman to be like, "Ooh, Robin is just sitting in this one building by himself for some reason." That's not suspicious at all.
Yeah, no, and they do comment on like she's pretty intelligent later on. Batman and Robin leave police headquarters to like, catch a trap, and Commissioner Gordon says to Chief O'Hara that there's two basics in life. And O'Hara's like, "Oh, death and taxes?" And Gordon replies, "Batman and Robin."
Yeah, they have two things you can depend on. That's what it was, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, death and taxes still exist, I presume, in this world.
Oh, yeah. They talk about it later,
Yeah.
next episode.
Yeah, I know they mentioned like where money from parking meters go, but yeah, they're gonna reach out to like a reporter who's very strange to like plant a story in the newspaper, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a reporter. He's more of a gossip column, right? I mean, I guess that's reporting and
I
so
mean, yeah, he basically, but he has a regular column in the paper,
yeah.
and his like
His name's Jack O'Shea.
yeah, and his office is like a very specific phone booth that he hangs out in,
Yeah,
which I think already they mentioned that Gotham is a metropolis at this point, right?
yeah,
So obviously metropolis just means city. It doesn't necessarily mean they're referring to Superman. And then you have this guy who is that classic like reporter outfit that Superman still sometimes is portrayed as having, as Clark Kent in a phone booth. And like, I know they're not referencing it, but like my brain kept going back to Superman.
yeah. I get why it would, especially
Yeah.
because like no one dresses like this today.
Yeah. And
And
they sometimes still have
obviously,
Clark Kent look like that,
yeah. And
which,
obviously there's no phone booths like or not many phone booths like that left.
yeah. And to be fair, like, I think it's a cool look and I think Clark makes it work.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, they ask Jack O'Shea. It's funny when Batman brings him up, he's like he's talking about how he like really doesn't like his energy.
Yeah, he's like a little too theatrical, right?
Yeah. And
I'm
I thought
like,
that was
I'm
pretty
like,
funny.
son, look at yourself.
Yeah. So anyway, they call him up and he's like, "Hey, Batman, baby." Like he definitely has a loud personality. But yeah, they ask him to run a story about a rare canary at the Gotham City Natural History Museum, and he agrees to do it. And he asks Batman if they want to like get dinner at some point or something like that.
Yeah, he's like Batman doll, whatever. Like
Yeah,
he's very like 60s hipster, like greasy kind of guy, like not like a greaser, but like personality wise, like he's got a bit of a used car salesman vibe.
definitely.
And I'm like, this guy has way too much personality. How is he going to get involved in the plot?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, either this guy is like some really famous actor who I don't know who this cameo is.
I thought same thing too. I was like, it's either this is like a cameo or like he's gonna be like a villain or something.
Yeah. So Batman like refuses his offer and just is like, I will say I feel like Batman is like kind of a dick about it, especially since he just like asked this dude for a favor.
And the dude was also very reasonably at the beginning of the phone call be like, "You're not Batman. Who is this? Like who's putting like someone's pulling like a gag on him?"
Yeah.
And Batman has like no way to prove that it's him over the phone.
Yeah. So
But even then I was thinking like I was like, "Oh yeah, he could just have showed up. He knows exactly where it is." But we've had like other people like show up and impersonate Batman and like Commissioner Gordon didn't realize,
that's true.
so
God. What a weird episode that was.
Yeah. I don't remember what that episode was, but that was cool. I remember digging that.
We cut to Catwoman's lair, and we find out that all of these cat burglars stealing these miscellaneous items were just a test in Catwoman's like training course for these cat burglars.
Yeah, it's like a criminal like school.
Yeah, and she reveals that like all the tests were meaningless. She's like building to a bigger plot.
Yeah, which I felt they were kind of meaningless. She stole some mittens from some babies.
Yeah.
So it's
And
like, all right.
cutting back to Jack O'Shea's phone booth office, he pulls out like a secret gossip transmitter and he makes a call which connects with Catwoman in her lair.
Yeah, there's like a leopard head on the wall, like a little receiver comes out of its mouth that she pulls out and listens to him. So yeah, so he's on Catwoman's take or whatever.
Yeah, and now this just all feels a little too convenient for me.
Fair
I'll like
enough.
buy into it. It doesn't like ruin my enjoyment, but as I'm sitting here like talking about it, it's just like, okay, so like the one time Batman goes to use this guy to help like foil a criminal, this guy is like working with Catwoman.
Yeah, if he didn't do that, it would have been kind of fun to have like a reoccurring, like just some other reoccurring civilians in the show. Like that could have been fun.
That's true.
Or even if he was still like working with Catwoman, because his whole thing's like gossips is just like I gotta have connections with everybody, and then maybe he shows up in like a Riddler episode or something.
That would be really cool.
But
Who's the DC character who is that?
there's like what's his
Is
name, like Calculator or something? He's like
yeah,
the bad guy version of Oracle.
yeah, exactly.
I forget what his name is, but yeah, oh man, they haven't used him in forever.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I haven't.
Or
I
they might have been using him in just in comics I haven't been paying attention to.
yeah,
But I know who you're talking about. That's going to drive me crazy. Later in the episode, maybe next episode, I'll just blurt out a name and that be who it is.
yeah. I think it is the calculator though.
I think it is, but like that sounds wrong.
It sounds right to me.
Okay.
Anyway, it would have been very cool if Jack O'Shea was the calculator. So anyway, Catwoman, knowing that Batman is setting a trap for her, decides to use this to set a trap for Batman instead. Back at the Batcave, Batman's working on some bat jets.
Yeah, which he mentions like that, they haven't had time to test them yet, but they start talking about the Boy Scout model of being prepared, like he doesn't know what he's going to use them for, but you don't know, you might need them at some point.
Yeah, probably in this episode or the next.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was that, but even if like, that's just this, I appreciate that there was set up for a gadget.
Oh, totally.
Because usually just like, oh, here's a bat laser gun that like melts doors or whatever. Like, what?
Why haven't we used this the whole time?
I'd
Yeah.
be using it every day.
In the same model of being prepared, Alfred, who brings them a meal that they don't have time to eat, is prepared with a doggy bag. And I
Yeah.
thought that was cute.
It reminded me of the I think it was Batman Returns commercials for McDonald's where it's like I'll get drive through because they're gonna probably eat it while they're just about to hop in the Batmobile and take off.
Well, I'll get drive through as a line from Batman Forever, I think.
Well, they used it in the commercial originally. Like that's what I originally remember it from. But yeah, I'll get drive throughs the very beginning of Batman Forever. Which Batman Forever sucks. I haven't seen that forever, but I remember really hating it.
I hate that movie.
Yeah.
At the Gotham Natural History Museum, the dynamic duo just are kind of crouched in the dark. And Batman is just like, if my calculations are correct, a cat burglar will come through this window in 6 seconds.
Now, when they're crouched in the dark, this was a thought I had, like, because Robin, like, they have very different color schemes, and like, they kind of like have their capes pulled up and stuff. I know it's silly, like what they look like, but I was like, damn, they look cool. Like it's just like a big dynamic pose. It's very comic booky. Like that's why superheroes have capes to begin with. Is like you can do all these like cool like poses and things with them. Like they look neat. And I don't know. It just was a thought I had. I was like, that looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, the capes are cool. They're cool.
Yeah.
I love the costume design on this show.
Yeah, everyone looks great, even if the villain's not particularly like interesting or whatever, but like everyone looks cool all the time. So, at least so far.
But yeah, I don't know what kind of calculations Batman uses to predict the exact second a criminal will enter a room, but
I mean,
he's
he was right.
yeah, he's exactly right.
Yeah.
They confront him, and this cat burglar is just like, hey,
Yeah, it's just
cut me
one
some
guy.
slack. Yeah.
Yeah. He got me outnumbered. I'm just a poor guy trying to make his way in the world. And I was like, yeah, most goons would probably be like down on their luck guys. They're not evil.
Batman's just like, oh, I'm disappointed that Catwoman didn't show up herself. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Catwoman and the rest of her gang is like snuck up behind them.
Yeah. And
And
I
we
like
get
that
this,
the guy's like, well, she is. Just look behind you. Like, we're not falling for that. And I was like, that's kind of funny.
yeah, like a
The fun twist
goofy
on it
bit.
rather than like, gulp, they're behind me, aren't they? Is what like I always expect that to go because it usually does because that's the lamest way you can do that.
There's a fight, always fun.
Yeah. I love that Julie Newmar's Catwoman just kind of like chills off to the side.
Yeah, she's like barely interested.
I'm sure there's some sort of like censorship mandate, like they can't have violence against women. But like, she's like, well, it's very cat-like. She's like, I'm in charge, whatever, doing my own thing.
Yeah,
This is why I have hired help.
it is very cool. But as she's doing this, I'm just thinking like, what a bad trap this is.
I was thinking that too. Like, I was like, how is this different than if they just showed up?
Yeah.
You know?
But I guess she had these dart guns on her.
Yeah, they're shaped like cats.
Yeah, very cool. And she shoots Batman and Robin with them and they get knocked out
Yeah, they
briefly.
get paralyzed for like a minute, I think they say. Like it's very, very temporary.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, at least you had this.
Because they knew they were gonna run into Batman and Robin.
Yeah. As Robin gets hit with the dart, she yells, Holy D'Artagnan.
I thought that was kind of stupid and funny, like the right kind of dumb.
Yeah, it was very much the right
Because he
kind.
says it like D'Artagnan, like he puts the emphasis on Dart.
Yes.
Versus, I feel like the lazy way would just be like, "Holy Dart," like 'cause he says stuff like that sometimes where it's very on the nose.
Yeah. So her plan here is to just throw them out the window, which I love.
Which I was like, you know what? Yeah, that would be the quickest way to do it, I guess. Since they don't have real guns.
So yeah, the goons throw Batman and Robin out the window.
I'll be honest with you. Part of me was like, it's way too early, right? Because that just felt like the cliffhanger.
Yes.
I was like, it's way too early for that.
Yeah, it also did feel like the cliffhanger to me though.
But and then they just throw them out the window. I was like, oh,
Yeah, I was
obviously,
like,
yeah.
how did they like what happens here?
Fortunately, we don't have to wait too long to find out.
Yeah, Batman and Robin expecting Catwoman to jump out the window.
No, I think they expect her to do a parachute on the canary cage, like she did for the
Oh,
other ones. So they had already had like a fishing net set up. So they just landed on that, which Catwoman and those guys didn't notice because I thought they also came through those windows,
yeah,
but I
they
could have been
did.
mistaken.
I don't know. But yeah, they had these nets set up.
Which it's silly and dumb that they had that set up, but like it kind of made sense with how she stole like in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it works. It's very plausible with this show's logic, like more so than they usually do. Because I feel like before they would have just been like, oh, there's just nets that like exploded out of their bat belts or something stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it also could have been like scaffolding nets or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, in the Archer episode, they just had springs in their boots for some reason. Like,
Sometimes you got springs in your boots.
so sometimes it's much less set up and much dumber.
I like they mentioned that they got the nets from Captain Ahab at the White Whale Fishing Company or something.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. So we cut forward. It's the next day. Batman and Robin are at police headquarters. They're reading one of Jack O'Shea's gossip columns about them and
Yeah, and
how,
like how they messed up this mission
yeah,
real bad, and like it's really scathing.
Batman's pretty ticked off. And like at this point, I was like, oh, is this going to be like a public opinion turns against Batman like story?
Hmm.
But that never really comes back.
Yeah, I think it's just be like, oh, that guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if they screwed up their mission and he's like kind of a salacious reporter, so it's like, yeah, you definitely would play that up. Like, of course, that's his job.
It's fun to see like Batman's ego kind of take a hit.
Yeah, because usually he's very selfless, and like I feel like he would take the ego out of things most of the time. But I
Yeah.
guess there is an unfair element to this as well. It's like, oh, they were actually sort of prepared for us, even though like that was the worst like trap on a trap I've ever seen in fiction.
Yeah.
It's just we're gonna run in and just fight them anyway.
Batman's, brooding over this article is interrupted because O'Hara has one of the goons in captivity. I guess they caught him the night before.
Yeah, I think they mentioned they caught them escaping the museum or wherever they were when the fight happened. Because since they knew that Catwoman, it was a trap for Catwoman stuff, I'm sure the police were kind of like on like in the air, like in the wings for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah. So they caught one of the guys and he's like, they drag him in and he's like, I'll never talk. I'll never talk. And then Chief O'Hara like raises a fist at
Well, because
him.
he's like, you can beat me or whatever, and like, yeah, Chief O'Hara, like he threatens police brutality a lot. But like, to be fair, Batman threatens it too, but like he never follows through with it in this show, really. And like, this is the Batman I would believe that the least from.
True.
But like then he sees like Batman and Robin are there, and he kind of gets scared of them, I guess.
Well, O'Hara like raises his fist and he's just like, okay, never mind. I'll talk. I'll talk.
Yeah,
So we find out a couple things, a couple
yeah.
clues from this goon. Whenever he's brought to Catwoman HQ, he's blindfolded. So he doesn't know exactly where that is. But what he does know is that while he's blindfolded, he can hear rock and roll,
Hmm.
the sound of people like stomping, and like when the music stops, he can hear cats meowing. So that's the clues for the hideout. And then the other bit of information he has is that like Catwoman's biggest caper is happening tonight. We cut to stately Wayne Manor,
Hmm.
and Aunt Harriet is like dancing around the living room with her like
Hands and
hand.
like, yeah, like as like doing like cat paw moves.
Yeah. And it looks absolutely ridiculous.
It looks really stupid.
But okay,
Yeah.
so let me jump back a little bit. After the goon says that like the caper is tonight,
Hmm.
Batman says like something like, "Oh, well, it's 10 a.m. now, so we don't have much time to crack her scheme." And it's funny because I thought of Aunt Harriet in this scene because Robin, Dick was out late the night before.
Yeah, he should like Dick should be at school now.
Even if he doesn't have school, he's like out
Yeah.
really late at night and then like out again in the morning.
Hmm.
And just like, it's like, oh, I wonder at this point, I was like, oh, I wonder what like Aunt Harriet thinks about all this. And then it's funny to like immediately cut to her like dancing like an idiot, like
Fair enough.
totally, totally unaware.
Well, who interrupts her? It's Alfred, right?
Well, no, she tries to get Alfred to like dance with her.
Yeah, but he's the character that enters the scene.
Yes. But eventually they all do.
Yeah. Well, because
Uh,
Alfred mentions like, no, I got a back injury in the war, which I'm assuming is World War I.
you
Because
think
like,
so?
well, because World War II would have been like 20 years ago, and he's like what in his 60s. World War I would have been like in the 20s, so he probably would be like in the if he was in his 60s, and then he'd be in his like 20s then.
Ah,
But it could also just been like an excuse to not dance.
true.
So I know that they eventually added like Alfred was like a super secret agent to his backstory eventually in Batman stuff, but
I'd believe it.
yeah.
Especially for this Alfred. He's the best Alfred.
No arguments here.
Bruce and Dick enter the scene, and Dick, like, just being a dick, kind of just like turns the music off.
And he's like, "Oh, this music's terrible," which, to be fair, I agree. But, that's his aunt, and she found something that she enjoys.
Yeah, like, be happy she's not like just like doting over you like a child.
Yeah, what she usually is doing.
Yeah. So yeah, Aunt Harriet says it's a new dance called the Cat-2C, uh, by the band Benedict Arnold and the Traders, which
Which
I'm
that's
definitely
yeah.
stealing that name.
I say that's an awesome band name, like for a punk band.
Yeah. It's I think it's a play on the on Paul Revere and the Raiders though,
That makes sense.
because
And
that's like
obviously,
a real band.
it's a from the bad guys, so
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was such a cool name. I was like making note.
I also thought it was a cool name.
Aunt Harriet said like she heard it at this restaurant dance club called the Pink Sandbox. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, dang, how like hip of a lady is Aunt Harriet?
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of cool that she knew all that stuff.
Yeah, I never thought she was cooler than this episode.
Especially when we showed it to us, like it's like a lot of young people. It's like, why doesn't Dick know about this? I mean, he's super lame. We've seen him in school now, but
Yeah. I like so yeah, the next scene we're in the Pink Sandbox, and like it's a cool spot.
so it's like half like go-go dance bar and like restaurant, like a
Yes.
cafe.
Which like oh whatever. I think it works for me.
But there's like a lady in a cage. Like, isn't that like usually in like adult places?
Just like it's just like a go-go club.
To be fair, I don't realize how common that is in like the 60s. So like maybe that was like a not like unusual thing.
Yeah, and like I mean I know Robin is in there, but like you know, it it seems like an okay place for him to be.
Yeah. Well, because then as they pan through there, we see everyone doing that dance with that same song playing, but like then Batman and Robin are just sitting at a booth with like menus, and like
Yeah.
the absurdity like of that shot I thought was amazing.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Like if this place was just on the level, I'd be like, that's so funny and weird. But it makes sense. Like they also have to eat too. Like that probably would happen in like places around around Gotham. It'd be like, oh yeah, when like someone famous like walks into. Do you think they have like headshots they sign like for people they put on the wall of like bars and stuff
Oh,
they go to?
I would hope so.
Yeah. Or
Um,
do you think they just show up, eat people's food, and then are like, yeah, no one's gonna believe you when you tell them this?
no one will ever believe you.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a real story, but I want to believe that it's real. I think it was Bill Murray, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill Murray shows up places.
Yeah. I know Tom Hanks sometimes does too.
I had this. All right, this is like a crazy tangent.
Let it rip.
I had this like strong Christmas wish. Like, damn, this is like 9 years ago now.
I think I remember this, but yeah.
I played in a Christmas band. Maybe it wasn't 9 years ago. It was way more recent than that. Maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. Anyway, I played in this Christmas like band. It was just like all or no, it was like mostly original Christmas songs that my friend wrote. But we covered a song from the Bill Murray like Christmas special. And like a month or two before, like Bill Murray like showed up at the bar we were supposed to play at. And I was like, yo, I will believe in Santa, Jesus, anything if Bill Murray shows up.
And you're playing his song.
Yeah. Alas, he didn't show up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, not that you're not that's not that you know of.
I was looking for him.
Oh, he still could have been there.
Anyway, Santa's not real, kids.
I believe.
Anyway, after asking about the specials, Batman and Robin start talking amongst themselves about how this time they're going to turn the tables on Catwoman.
Yeah, and all the specials were like cat themed, like puns.
Yeah.
But yeah, they mentioned to turn the tables on Catwoman. I like this part.
And their table and like booth just like spins around. It's like a trap door and it throws them into this room.
Like, yeah, metal room with like a circular like window in the ceiling that Catwoman's like laying next to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was really fun. Catwoman was really fun in this scene, like in particular.
Yeah. And like here, like once again, we have another instance of like a criminal just like controlling an entire business.
Yeah. Like how long has she had this place?
Yeah.
They have like records and stuff pressed.
And like, all right, say you're Catwoman and Batman and Robin walk into this restaurant that you secretly own.
Yeah.
Like, are you just gonna like blow your cover on this restaurant?
I mean, to be fair, she has the opportunity to kill them. Like, I get it. You got to take your shot.
Yeah, except like she doesn't take her shot. She like does the most roundabout way of killing them ever. Okay, so
Well,
anyway,
it's as roundabout as every villain's way of killing them.
yeah, but I guess like I don't know. I would just keep my dance club and just like be
Yeah,
like,
like if they
okay,
didn't like capture him, would they be like, well, maybe this was the wrong lead?
yeah. Anyway, yeah, Batman and Robin are like trapped in this room and Catwoman's taunting them. And it's here that she like begins like kind of flirting with Batman.
Oh yes. So she mentions that, like, oh, he could have made it work, like, but she mentions like, oh, Riddler called me up for a date or whatever. He's pretty handsome, but like I don't like the green hair. And then she mentions that Penguin's too small for her. I just like when they reference the other villains and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And I just the idea of like the Joker calling like this Joker calling someone for like a date is funny to me.
Yeah, like where would they go? I
Yeah,
imagine
what would
just
they
like the
do?
restaurant.
And then that's what got me thinking about the movie and stuff too. I was like, do they hate each other? Like they didn't seem to be like friends in that. It was more like convenience. Does
For
that make
sure.
sense? Like, but you know, Batman mentions like, oh, maybe you're just with the wrong crowd. But fair.
Yeah, but I feel like this is the role like and it's interesting because like in this story it's the main villain, but
Yeah, I
like
think that's why this doesn't like annoy me as much as when it's always like the mall, like because it's the main character. And it is a major part of like Catwoman's like depiction and characterization over the years. Like she is like she was created to be like the femme fatale, and this is like a part of that trope.
yeah.
And like I said, I like that for the most part she's kind of unapologetically a bad guy in this
Yeah,
series.
she like doesn't like even though she like is kind of like showing interest in Batman here, she doesn't unlike the other, ladies, she doesn't like, fucking
It almost feels like she's teasing him, you know what I mean?
yes.
Like it's not genuine.
But she's lonely deep down.
I mean, she's got all
Um
of her cat men.
I love that like Batman, he just like kind of is like going on this like rant and like calling her like a wicked sorceress and
Yeah, all of their like
like
insults for like women are so crazy
yeah,
because they
it's
can't just call her a bitch. They have to call her like a witch or some sort of a related type of thing. Because yeah, they mentioned like she's a sorceress. She's like
she's like
really dangerous.
satanic, like
Yeah,
he's going crazy.
yeah. Like Batman's so offended that like one of these arch criminals could be like a woman or something.
Um, so Catwoman like turns on the heated floor in the room that they're in.
Yeah, to give him the ultimate hot foot.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, this is the end of the episode cliffhanger.
not quite.
We're still not there.
So Batman and Robin are like jumping around, like
Yeah,
because their feet are so hot,
yeah,
even though their feet are bulletproof.
yeah. I don't know. I'm buying into it enough at this point that I'm like, okay, I get it.
Catwoman like cracks some eggs and like throws them down there and
Yeah, and
just
you see them. Yeah, they're like cooked on the floor, just to show
yeah,
us at home like how hot it actually is.
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
Uh so Batman is like, oh, we'll break this like water pipe.
yeah. And
But
I remember at the time thinking like that was dumb of her to have that there, but no, it's full of catatonic spray, which will knock
yeah,
them out, or like
good
a
time.
catatonic gas. Sorry, because it's got cat in the title.
Yeah. So I thought she was just gonna like let them cook on the floor, but
So did I because they do it and they fall and like if that's that hot, like they'd be like those burns they would have got even through their bat suits would have been like Robin's. I think in universe he's not wearing pants. Like I know he's wearing like leggings in real life, but uh like yeah, that would have been the end of them like real
yeah.
easy.
So, but no, they take them to the roof and they tie them up to these like giant, like human sized, like cooking
Yeah,
pans.
they're like it's like human sized barbecue grills.
Yeah.
They're like mirrored underneath.
Yeah. With like aluminum foil to like catch the heat.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't enough, they put giant magnifying glasses over top of them.
As they were pulling out the magnifying glasses, is like, okay, we've really like lost the plot here. Because I was like, why is she? Because like the last thing she was just doing them was like cooking related, and I was like, I guess she has a restaurant, so that's on her mind. But I was like, why? Who sells giant like human size like magnifying glasses like to burn humans?
Yeah. Who knows, dude?
I bet there's like a big criminal like on like black market underground that like maybe Batman can't even figure out like the secret to. Maybe I did look it up. It is the calculator. Maybe the calculator is a big thing in this universe, supplying all these like novelty things and like businesses and stuff that are prepared just for villains.
I wish. God, it would
Damn,
have
that
been
would actually
so
be
cool.
kind of cool. Um, but yeah. So this is the end of the episode cliffhanger.
Yeah. Uh yeah, Batman and Robin, they're gonna get cooked to death.
Yeah, their goose is cooked.
What did you think of this episode?
I thought, well, it was a big step up from like the Archer story. Not that I didn't particularly hate that episode or anything, but it was like the most by the numbers, like boring kind of interpretation of Batman. And I like this way more than Catwoman's first episodes.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with
Yeah,
this.
I really like kind of rejuvenated like the Archer one. I was like, oh no, is this what the season's going to be? And then I was like, and then this one came up. I was like, okay, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
was very surprised.
yeah, like we'll save it for the end of next episode. But like, I have thoughts on this depiction of Catwoman, and I'm not sure if I like or dislike this version.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
So
to find out Scott's thoughts and if Batman and Robin live, tune in next time. Same Catcast time, same Catcast channel.